peace and shall find solutions for issues and problems facing us. Grant us the mercy, O Lord, that we shall today also honor thy name in all we think, do, and say. Almighty God, we pray thee, bless our land and all its people. This all we pray in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. As a nation, I solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of Namibia and its people, and I solemnly promise to uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of the Republic of Namibia to the best of my ability. Welcome back. Honourable Member, I would like to confirm that indeed the flowers have been duly changed, and I'm grateful to the staff for having done that. Honourable Members, I would like to address myself to you as members of this August House on unbecoming expressions and behaviors that sometimes happen in the House. The Namibian of yesterday, a day before yesterday, you might have seen some of the issues that were covered there. Such conduct by members depict a wrong picture to the public at large that this House has lost its values in the eyes of the public. I sincerely hope that such incidents will not happen in the future. Such a lack of decorum, either in speech or behavior, does not take us anywhere. A member is not interrupted or obstruct any other member who is speaking by disorderly expressions, mocking, making running commentaries or other interruptions or noise or any other disorderly manner. Members should remain silent when speaking in the House. And I thus appeal to members to adhere to the decorum and respect the authority of the chair. While it is normal and acceptable for difference of opinion to arise from time to time, it is inappropriate to allow motions to get better for the public representatives in such a fashion. I don't need to repeat this, but I think it's important from time to time to remind ourselves that some of the things that happen tend to take away from the image of the House. Any petitions? Reports of standing and select committees? Other reports and papers? Yes, please.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. I want to inform this August House that on 19th October 2021, the Access to Information Bill was referred to the Standing Committee on Information Communication, Technology and Innovation for further scrutiny and consultation in terms of Rule 37, Sub-Rule 1 and 2 of the Standing Rules and Orders. Rule 39A of the Standing Rules and Orders stipulates that a standing committee shall within 30 days report back on bills referred to it unless an extended period of time is fixed by the House. It is on the basis of Rule 39A that I move and request for an extension of time until 28 February 2022 for the committee to carry out its task of conducting public consultations and public hearings as assigned to it by this August House. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. How about the reports and other papers? Notices of questions? Oh, yeah, please. Please. notices of questions,
Questions.
notices of motions.
Yeah. Questions.
Oh yes,
Questions.
questions, Honorable Dr. Yambo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, Honorable Speaker, I give notice that on Tuesday, November 23, I shall ask the following questions to the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, Honorable Franz Kapofi. And the background goes as follows. Mainstream media reported that the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs spent 40 billion Namibian dollars over 30 years and $19 billion over 11 years on veterans. The Veterans Ministry started around 2002 or thereabout with late Nicky Yambo, may his soul rest in peace. This was after furious complaints by the liberation struggle veterans. National funds for development end up paying veterans because their United Nations 3R, repatriation, rehabilitation, and resettlement money disappeared in thin air. Where is that money which necessitated veterans to be paid by the taxpayer? The 3R money was mandatory for former colonies, particularly in Namibia, which was a direct responsibility of the United Nations. We should remain cognizant that whatever transpired, money can easily be followed and traced. It should not be in the interest of the state for authorities to cover up, while crucial evidence had started to trickle in. Mike Ngipunya, for example, disclosed the 75 million directed to the SWAPO party through lawyers and the auditor's detection of 7 million. Considering the above scenario, can you please be quiet? Considering the above scenario, the following questions suffices. When did war veteran begin to be paid? Can the Honorable Minister appraise this August House on the breakdown of both the 40 billion over 30 years and the 19 billion over 11 years? Paradoxically, the ruling party agreed to a meager 18 billion genocide reparation over 30 years. Will the Honorable Minister concur or disagree with the reality of the necessity to start from scratch should Namibia's ruling get back to the drawing board? SWANU of Namibia has deep concerns about the country's funds and natural resources ending up in tax havens and benefiting so-called investors at the expense of the 2.5 million Namibians. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. We move on. Notices of motions, messages from the head of state, ministerial statements. So we go straight to the subject matter before us, question time. Can we run half of the time? And I'm going to, in order to keep up with the request, I'll question from the Honorable Kawandenge. He's not in the house. You put the question. He's not in the house. Can we deal with the question? Thank you very much. The Minister, question directed to the Minister of Agriculture. You
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This question has been standing over for some time, and I'm happy that I can answer it now. Honourable Speaker, I'd like to respond to the question posed by Honourable Kawandenge of the National Unity Democratic Organization, NUDO, regarding a farm that the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform acquired near Omashete communal areas in the Rongo region. Even though the Honourable Member did not mention the farm he is referring to by name, I only can assume that he is referring to the farm Ochumue, number 109, measuring 768 hectares. Farm Ochumue South, number 110, measuring 5,940.66 hectares, and portion 1 of farm Gross Okombahe, number 193, measuring 7,207 hectares. These farms were acquired by government of the Republic of Namibia during 2012 for the purpose of resettlement. If these are the correct farms under question, the Honourable Member is correct to say that the farms were declared communal area and incorporated to Omashete communal area so as to relieve pressure on the overcrowded communal area under the leadership of the Zariwa Traditional Authority. Zarawa, thank you. Honourable Speaker, the incorporation of the above-mentioned farms as part of the communal land was done in terms of Section 16.1 of the Communal Land Act of 2002, that's Act number 5 of 2002, under the following procedure. Requests were received from Zariwa and other traditional authorities for government to consider expanding communal areas so as to relieve pressure on overcrowded communal areas. B, the Attorney General was consulted and advised that as soon as the farms bordering communal areas are acquired, it becomes the property of the state and subsequently can be incorporated into already existing communal areas as prescribed by Section 16.1 of the Communal Land Reform Act, that is the Act 5 of 2002. The then Minister of Land Reform made a submission to Cabinet in October 2012 requesting Cabinet to approve the expansion of overcrowded communal areas. A decision was taken by Cabinet on 23rd April 2013, which Cabinet decision is number 6 of the 23rd 4th month 2013. To integrate the farms into communal area, namely the Omashete communal area under the jurisdiction of the Rewa Traditional Authority. It was done in compliance with Section 16 of the Communal Land Reform Act. With the approval of the National Assembly, after the Minister tabled the matter in Parliament, His Excellency the then President, His Excellency Hifikepunye Pohamba, published in a Gazette number 5264 on the 15th of August 2013 the proclamation of the farms into communal land. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform has not resettled any persons on the above-mentioned farms subsequent to the handing over of the farms to the traditional authority, since the farms are treated as part of the communal area under the provision of the Communal Land Reform Act, and that is Act number 5 of 2002. Having said the above, allow me to address all the other related questions by informing the honourable member that resettlement is done according to a set procedure as defined in the resettlement policy, resettlement criteria, and the Agricultural Land Reform Act, and the Ministry does not deviate from these procedures. Although the farms I have mentioned earlier were acquired for the purpose of resettlement in 2012, they were handed over to the traditional authority as communal land. Thus, their status of commercial land since the 15th August 2013, was converted to that of communal state land. This was done due to the drought at the time and to alleviate congestion and the subsequent grazing pressure on the communal land, and in an effort to extend the land and improve the quality of life of the residents. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, while communal land is vested in the state by the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia, the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform does not directly allocate rights on communal land, because that responsibility is under the custodianship of the traditional authorities through the communal land boards. However, communal land boards have been established under Section 2 of the Communal Land Reform Act to control the allocation and cancellation of customary rights by traditional authorities. The allocation of rights on the farms, the respective farms that the Honourable Member has mentioned, would therefore have been facilitated by the Zarewa Traditional Authority, in allocations of which would be legitimized through ratification and registration of the land rights by the Irongo Communal Land Board. The applications for customary rights by the applicants who were granted consent to reside or resettle or settle on the farms by the traditional authority are submitted by the traditional authority to the Communal Land Board for ratification and registration. As per the information received from the Zarewa Traditional Authority, a committee was established to set allocation criteria and to identify farmers under the jurisdiction of the Zarewa Traditional Authority who would be eligible for allocation of customary land rights as per the provision of the Communal Land Reform Act, and in consultation with the surrounding communities. The information received indicates that the farms were indeed allotted to individuals as per the choices of the traditional authority. The said traditional authority must, however, follow the procedures of the Communal Land Reform Act. The Act provides that traditional authorities have the mandate to allot land parcels not bigger than 100 hectares to a person. When the land parcel exceeds that size, the traditional authority can recommend its proposed allotment to the respective land board, who in turn, and when in agreement, forward the recommendation to the Minister of Land Reform in that case. Section 39 of the Communal Land Reform Act, read together with Regulation 25, further provides that any person not satisfied with the decision of the traditional authority or communal land board must appeal to the minister, who must appoint an appeal tribunal to investigate and resolve the matter. I believe the process of land allocation for the said farms is not yet finalized according to this prescribed procedure, and I can confirm that I have neither received appeals by the traditional authority nor by communal land boards. Remember, all communal land vests in the state in trust for the benefit of the traditional communities for the purpose of promoting economic and social development of the people of Namibia. The Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform will continue to administer and management communal land as provided by the law, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope the honourable member had a copy of the reply. And in keeping with your request, question number 183 from the Honourable Sepep, you put the question. Thank you very much. The question is directed to the Minister of Agriculture. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you for accommodating me. I have a function at 5 o'clock and ask the Speaker to allow me to answer the question just after the first one. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, I rise to respond to the question posed by Honourable Penny Saideb of the Landless People Movement, LPN, regarding farms acquired from the NDF, farms purchased by the Russian billionaire, and farms number 416 acquired for the settlement program. Even though the Honourable Minister did not mention the names of the farms he is referring to, I can only assume that he refers to two farms that were not acquired from the NDF, but that was acquired by the NDF, namely Farm Oropoko and Oshizemba, number 24 and number 19 respectively. Honourable members, as I said, these two farms were acquired by the Ministry of Defence, whereas the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform only provided technical support in terms of issuance of a certificate of waiver so that the farm could be sold and transferred to the Ministry of Defence. The payment of the farms was done directly by the Ministry of Defence. I am therefore not aware of any investigation on the acquiring of farms from the NDF under and for the National Resettlement Programme by the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform. The allocations of these farms were also not done by the Ministry because the responsible land matter, thus I am unable to provide a list of requested of people resettled. So the farms were not acquired from the Ministry of Defence, but the Ministry of Defence acquired them. If that is correct, and for the benefit of members, I would wish to give details of the services rendered by the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform to the then Ministry of Defence. On 26 July 2016, the Ministry of Defence requested the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, it was then the Ministry of Land Reform, to value two agricultural properties they were interested in acquiring in the Ogahanga district, namely the remaining extent of portion A, Oropoko, that's a remainder portion of farm Okanan Trehuri, and farm Oshizemba. The Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform valued the land of the two farms on the 11th and 12th August 2016 and communicated the values of the remaining extent, that is the two farms, Oropoko and Oshizemba, to the Ministry of Defence as a cumulative value of $38,230,852 Namibian. On the 26th of October 2016, the Ministry of Defence then informed by letter in which they requested the valuer to include game to the value of the valuation, as it was acquiring the farms as going concerns with the game on the subject farm. Relying on these provided figures by a game code conducted by African Wildlife Services, the farm value, including game values, consequently increased from 38,230,852 NAM dollars to 43,757,648 NAM dollars. And it was communicated as such. As stated above, the value included all assets of the farms as the farm was acquired as going concerns. Table 1 and 2 depicts items that were included in the value as well as the land value of the two farms. Additionally, it includes a list of farms that were used as competitive pricing methods to see and derive the market-based value. Honourable Speaker, for the purpose of comprehensiveness, let me read you Table 1 and 2. The items that were added to the land value are the following. The land value of Farm Oropoko was $13,807,082.60. The additional items were replacement cost of Oropoko buildings, $20,124,709.25. Movable assets for bungalows, $1,660,062.85. Movable assets for main buildings, $681,810.44. Shooting range including assets, $941,371.72. Vehicles, $222,250. Laundry equipment, $190,380.52. Machines, they included generators, wood and carpentry machines, $1,106,664. And the game value of that farm, $5,573,121.52. The total value plus the farm, the grant value, stood then at $43,757,452.90. For farm Ochizemba, the land price came in at $17,266,860. The additional items were movable assets in 5 bungalows plus kitchen, $121,257.79. Machines, that's again generator, compressor, sewing machines and so on, $461,901.30. Vehicles, $682,855. Firearms, $416,565. And the game value of this farm came in at $4,792,219.20. Total value over and above land price, $6.4 million, and the total price, $23,741,648.29. For comparison, we have included a list of 7 other farms that were bought at the same time, and these farms ranged in a per hectare price between $1,748 per hectare to $4,315.70. The farms purchased compare well in that range. Oropoko was purchased for $2,779.80, and Ochizemba for $3,360 per hectare. So they fall within the range and are comparable. Honourable Speaker, according to the Deeds Office, where the 2 farms were registered by the Registrar of Deeds, the ultimate purchase price was given at $45 million for Oropoko and $29.7 million for Ochizemba, which is $7.1 million above the valued price. Honourable Speaker, on the farms leased by COMSA, namely Farm Coas, number 501, measuring 11,591 hectares. Secondly, portion A of Farm Hillside, number 115, measuring 5,765 hectares. And Farm Ochibukona, number 352, measuring 11,515 hectares. I'm unable, other than giving the sizes of the farm, because of the fact that the matter is before court, and therefore sub judice. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Cyber further asked me to shed some clarity on the farm register, that is number 416, and brief Parliament on how a certain Mr. Johan Njiaranguru qualified and whether there was any preferential treatment. The member asked further if there is an ongoing investigation with regard to alleged general corrupt symbiotic relationship between my predecessor and a certain Ahab Okamp, and the manner in which they tried to influence a former resettlement farm owner or farm register, and if that is not a conflict of interest. Honourable Speaker, the farm register was an affirmative action loan farm where the owner was in default with the Agribank. Consequently, Agribank intended to auction the farm, but being a farm suitable for resettlement, no waiver was issued, and the then Ministry of Land Reform notified its interest to acquire the farm. The procedure of the existing or exercising our preferential right to purchase was followed as per the Agricultural Communal Land Reform Act, Act number 6 of 1995. As far as we could establish, there is no investigation on alleged corrupt relations between my predecessor and Mr. Okamp. Farm register was advertised on the 31st of July 2020, which advertisement closed on the 31st of August 2020. Mr. Njiaranguru application for Unit B of this farm was received by the Ministry's of Juba Regional Office on the 24th of August 2020. Therefore, I can confirm that the application for the resettlement by Mr. Njiaranguru was made in good time, and it was indeed recommended by the Juba Regional Resettlement Committee, which recommendation was supported by the Land Reform Advisory Commission. Before I finally decided to allocate the farm unit on the recommendation of the structures as stipulated in the Agricultural Commercial Land Reform Act. Farm register number 416 was allocated to 3 beneficiaries, of which Mrs. Jolokeni Kamati from the Commerce region was allocated a farming unit, with Mr. Johan Njiaranguru from Juba allocated farm unit B, and Mr. Nguvichia Kapere from the Omaike allocated the farm unit C. And those allocations were done on the 7th of December 2020. The former farm owner of Farm register was not resettled on this farm, as indicated by the Honourable Member, but the Ministry accepted an offer delivered by the Deputy Sheriff as the farm was about to be auctioned. It is worth noting that every Namibian qualifies for resettlement, either with or without livestock, provided that the applicant meets the set criteria that are gazetted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We move on to question number, I'm now going through according to the list. Question number 150 from the Honourable Nico Smith. Put the question. Thank you very much. And the question is directed to the Minister of Justice. Honourable Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and also to the member who asked the question. Honourable Speaker, to the questions asked by Honourable Nico Smith, before commenting on the specific questions asked, without responding to each and every issue raised, because of its potential prejudice on the ongoing investigations, the court proceedings, and the work of the PG, I wish to provide the following general response. Firstly, it is important to point out that this matter is sub judice. In other words, it is before court, and therefore it would be undesirable to comment in public on the specific individuals and aspects of the court case, as this might compromise the court proceedings and the possible outcome of this matter to which the Prosecutor General's office is a party. Secondly, in terms of the relevant laws, in other words, Article 88 of the Namibian Constitution, the Criminal Procedure Act, the Financial Intelligence Act, the Prevention of Organized Crimes Act, to name a few, the Prosecutor General acts independently. This means the PG determines who to charge, what charges to bring, and what other measures to take in matters related to criminal proceedings and prosecution. This the PG does on the basis of evidence available to the prosecution. It would therefore be inappropriate for the Minister of Justice to discuss this matter from the floor of Parliament. Thirdly, it is my understanding that the issues of determining state witnesses in respect of a particular case is based on establishing the key elements of the crime and the available evidence, including the identification of state witnesses that will support making out a compelling case for the state. Fourthly, any further actions to be taken or that can be contemplated in the matter shall be informed and assessed based on available evidence or on such information as may emerge from the ongoing court proceedings. Fifthly, the Prosecutor General, in the execution of her function, is bound by the professional ethics and the law to act fairly and impartially. It is therefore important that we desist from any actions that could be deemed as undue influence from any persons or institutions on the exercise and execution of her functions. Any member of the public, including members of Parliament, are free to approach the Office of the Prosecutor General with credible information that relates to any case under her tutelage. And I looked at each question separately. And Honourable Speaker, because of time, I will not repeat the questions. Question 1, in respect of question 1, the Prosecutor General is unable to respond to this question because of its potential prejudice to her work and the impact on the ongoing case. Question 2, predicate offences are often components of a larger crime, such as money laundering, and the Prevention of Organized Crimes Act has a list of predicate offences set out in the schedule to the Act. Typically, it's independent crimes such as theft, fraud, corruption, with a similar purpose as the larger crime and can be charged separately or together with the larger crime. Question 3. The Prosecutor General cannot comment on individuals involved or potentially involved as the matter has become sub judice. Question 4. This question is based on inferences, opinions, and imputations that should not have been allowed as it violates Rule 88D of the Standing Rules and Orders and Internal Arrangements. Plus, the matter is sub judice, and any discussion on the floor of the National Assembly is likely to prejudice the work of the Prosecutor General and that of the court. Question 5. Again, this is the opinion of the Honourable Member based on inferences, and the Prosecutor General is unable to comment thereon, for the matter has become sub judice and is in fact a violation of Rule 88D of the Standing Rules and should not have been allowed in the first place. Question 6. This question is clearly a violation of Rule 88D in that it contains arguments, inferences, opinions, imputations, and epithets, and should not have been allowed to stand, as it is in fact a further violation of Rule 88E, Roman figure 6, and should not have been asked, as it borders on soliciting the expression of an opinion or the solution of a strict legal question. I thank you, and so submit.
Thank you very much. Question number 151 from the Honorable Kawandenge. We can put the question. Thank you very much. The question is directed to the Minister of Information, Communication and Technology.
Yes, Speaker. Over here, Speaker.
Yes. Thank you
Speaker,
very
I
much.
just want to
Deputy
know
Minister,
who put the question?
you have the
Who put the
floor.
question, Honorable Speaker?
Yes.
Speaker, I just want to get clarity who put the question.
The Honorable Maharukat put it. to the question. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Speaker, I want to know who put the question before I respond to it, because Honorable Kawandenge is not in the house.
Yes, please.
Speaker, I still want to know who put the question.
The Honorable Muharukwa.
Oh, Honorable Muharikwa.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I just didn't see anybody rise up to put the question. That is why I was
It's quite
asking.
in order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Actually, I'm really trying to have as many of these questions responded to, and that's what we are trying to do, really. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Well, in the absence of Honorable Kawandenge, I still just want to make the following statement that all the members in the House would recall that before the strike of the NBC, him and Honorable Chondo had questions pertaining to NBC, which were addressed in this August House. During that answering session, information was shared about NBC's current financial challenges, which impacted its ability to positively consider the employees' demands linked to wage increases and benefits. As you may all know, Honorable Speaker, subsequently, the employees exercised their right to embark upon a legal strike, of which we all know what happened after that. I would now like to respond to Honorable Joseph Kaandenge's questions as follows. Question number 1, just for his correction, the NBC's legal industrial action started on the 22nd of April 2021 at 1300 hours until the 26th May 2021. Before the commencement of the strike, the NBC and the union agreed on a no work, no pay principle through the endorsement of a signed memorandum of action before an arbitrator at the Labour Commissioner's office. This is allowed in terms of the Labour Act 11 of 2007. Therefore, employees participated willingly in a legal strike, and hence there is nothing wrong with the deduction in earnings for the period under review, given that was the mutually agreed upon before the strike commenced. The NBC management communicated continuously to the employees regarding these deductions from their wages via the internal memos, and further to that, each affected employee received a further explanatory letter in this regard. Regarding the second question, Honorable Speaker, it is a fact that this August House did approve a reduced budget for NBC for the financial year 2021-2022. In fact, the budget was reduced from $334.1 million in the financial year 2021 to $127.5 million in financial 2021-2022, which amounts to about a 62% reduction. This means that the NBC may not have enough monthly cash flow or disposable cash to honor some of its obligations, including third-party payments. Therefore, payment of monthly theoretical deductions to third parties is dependent on the availability of cash. The majority in this instance, Honorable Speaker, however, of third-party payments are up to date. The third and last question by Honorable Kawandenge. This is the following response. All NBC employees receive a monthly salary without any delay. There has never been a situation where the NBC employees didn't receive their monthly salaries. However, it is unfortunate that those employees who may owe NBC because of the application of no work, no pay strike rule would not receive a full monthly salary until the amount equal to their labor withheld during the strike is fully accounted for. I so submit, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Question number 161 from the Honorable Elman Tinda. Put the question. Thank you. The question is directed to the Deputy Minister once again.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Elma Dienda, for raising this matter as part of the questions and answer sessions as allowed in this chambers, and your keen interest in NBC's operational matters is highly noted. Honorable Dienda, you may recall that the NBC strike was a legally sanctioned one, where the two parties agreed on how to go about it. Part of that aspect, as I have responded to Honorable Kawandenge's questions, of that Memorandum of Action is of no work, no pay rule, which NAPU signed for and on behalf of their constituents, which are the NBC workers. The position was clear from the onset that the signed Memorandum of Action, which is an agreement in this instance leading to the strike, was a mutually agreed position detailing how this process would play out. As you may know by now, the NBC employees exercised their right to embark upon a legal strike. Honorable Speaker, in respect of question 1 to 4, this is very similar to the question raised by Honorable Kawandenge, and without repeating the same responses or anything similar to that, we have decided that in respect of questions 1 to 4, an elaborate response has been provided to us by the NBC management. However, in the interest of these same questions coming up for a third time now, we would like to recommend for the House to allow the Standing Committee on ICT and Innovation to summon the NBC management to respond to those very questions in detail as required by the honorable members. I would now like to continue with question 5 without, of course, outlining the question and just go straight to the response. The response to question 5 is as follows. The matter related to the incentive payments were fully ventilated in this August House by myself and the Minister. Honorable Dienda is therefore invited to consult the Hansards in this regard. Insofar as the infrastructure usage is concerned, the NBC, like many other newsrooms, is working on a shift system which details that there will be sharing of computers and other resources such as editing facilities, cameras, studio space based on the shift system. In response to question 6, the general annual budgeting process has consistently highlighted the state of the NBC's equipment. Through the accountability report that we have received, the Ministry is also appraised through the ED via the Director General about the state of NBC's equipment. The process of approving the development budget or CAPEX for this financial year was submitted by the NBC in November 2020 to the Office of the Minister, and the Office of the Minister was then tasked to discuss with the Office of the Director General of the NBC, supported by the Ministry of Finance, together with our involvement as part of looking into updating and improving the technical infrastructure of the NBC. The guideline amount is 58 million Namibian dollars, which has been approved. This amount will assist in upgrading some elements of NBC's equipment. The last amount paid towards equipment upgrade was in 2016 for the DTT rollout migration project. Finally, in response to question 7, the audience research conducted by an independent research house depicts that 75% of Namibians are watching news. Therefore, for NBC to keep the nation informed on each and every hour, a 24-hour news channel is required. Equally, as an evolving entity and as such, the management through the board has started implementing pockets that will gradually, over time, lead to a fully fledged 24 hours news channel. What has been happening so far, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members, is that more television news updates of between 5 and 10 minutes. These do not amount to full bulletins of up to 45 minutes, example the one at 2000 hours, which is 8 p.m., but more updates have been added to NBC One, which is the flagship channel. The NBC only had bulletins running at 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. However, with this new thinking, we have seen additional news updates or highlights broadcasted at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., and 1800 hours, to mention but a few. Good Morning Namibia has been extended by an hour from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on weekdays. Previously, Good Morning Namibia has been airing from only 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. This approach, honorable members, is aimed at slowly phasing in the notion of working towards a 24-hour news channel, and it will be managed as such without incurring unnecessary additional costs. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Dinda. Could you wait for the mic?
Honorable Deputy Minister, my first 4 questions were not similar to that ones of Honorable Kawandenga. I asked you about how was the calculations made. This is what I asked, and you didn't answer it. I asked you how is it possible that this month you deducted 17,000, the next month you deducted 21,000, and the remaining weeks. It is not consistent. So that's why I asked you this question. So it is nothing to do what Honorable Kawandenga has asked you. And thirdly, Honorable Deputy Minister, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts has so far invited the NBC for public hearings 2 times. The 3rd meeting will be next week, Tuesday, for NBC to come and explain to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts how is it possible that the financial records are in such a mess that they themselves has told the Standing Committee that the NBC don't have money. There's no money. There's not even money to pay a 3rd party. Yet the Honorable Deputy Minister came and said it is paid up till to date. The members of the Standing Committee who is present, please agree with me that what we were heard from them is that NBC doesn't have money. Your Namibian dollar. So this extra activity that you want to plan is not financially, it is just a dream. So I don't know. They are coming back on Tuesday to our committee. You said I must pose these questions to them. I will post it, but I already have these answers which they gave to us there, and it differs from what you are saying today in this house. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The Deputy Minister, you want to come back? Yes, please.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Well, that is exactly why I asked Honorable Dienda to explain to her that the 3rd question of Honorable Kawantenge is similar to her questions 1 to 4, because it speaks about the deduction. And therefore, because those deductions were done in this financial year, those records are up to date. And that is why we recommend that a standing committee look into that so that the NBC can provide them with the necessary documents as opposed to me giving her a theoretical answer here on the floor. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, you may recall that in the midterm review, all the funds in respect to the verimentation of funds by the current bill that we are discussing on the appropriation bill, all the funds made available to the ministry will be given to the NBC. Therefore, in addition to the 58 million that has already been paid to the NBC in terms of equipment, there is an additional amount of money made to the NBC for them to continue their operations until the next financial year. So the notion that NBC does not have money at this point in time is not correct, as there is actually proof that money has been made available to NBC. Thank you.
Now, the honorable members of the Public Accounts Committee have that information, and maybe they can pursue at the next meeting. Thank you very much. Question number 170, Honorable Muharukwa, you put the question. Question is directed to the Minister of Mines and Energy. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and let me thank Honorable Muharukwa for the questions. Honorable Speaker, the questions are very important because actually all of them are about how best we can ensure that our oil and gas potential is exploited in the best interest of the country. And therefore, they are very, very important questions. Honorable members, ultimately the country will benefit most when a commercial discovery is made. And for a commercial discovery to materialize, we need to ensure that our licensing system is such that those that are awarded licenses do have the ability to do exploration. It is also equally important that we create opportunities for Namibians to participate in the sector. And, Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason that over the years, NAMCOR, which is a state company, and other private sector Namibians have been awarded exploration licenses in the oil and gas sector. At times, this was not done not so much on the financial strength of those licensees, but rather on their assessed ability to raise the required capital. Now, Honorable Speaker, the first question is to do with NAMCO's exploration budget. NAMCO is a state-owned company, and it was established to serve as a vehicle within which Namibians, through the state, can participate in the oil and gas sector. It therefore makes sense that NAMCO has been awarded exploration licenses. With regards to NAMCO's budget for the financial year 2020-2021, NAMCO had a budget of $7.9 million, while in 2021-2022, the budget is $6.8 million. However, most of the budget is spent on statutory obligations such as license fees and petrol fund contributions. The second question, Honorable Speaker, is not really a question. Here, Honorable Maharupa is making a statement to the effect that it is standard business model, and I quote, where licensees do not need to have financial resources, and that all what they need to do is to make the license attractive to investors who have money to do exploration. And he wanted to know, or he wanted me to concur with him on that statement. Now, Honorable Speaker, it is indeed not a standard business model, and therefore I do not agree with Honorable Maharupa. We do not have licensees who do not exploration work without going through a farm-out process to raise capital. I, however, do acknowledge that it's not uncommon for licensees to sell part of their licenses to other investors in order to raise exploration capital. The third question is about companies that did a farm-out and whether they succeeded in raising the required capital. Honorable Speaker, as I have explained under question 2, farming out or farming in is allowed, and it does happen from time to time. However, I need to state that this is not a ministry-sanctioned process. It is not a ministry that says you have to farm in or you have to farm out. This is a decision by the licensees, and as such, the ministry does not keep a register of such transactions. Suffice it to say that some of the drilling we have seen so far, some of the licensees do not have to do a farm out. The fourth question, Honorable Speaker, is how the ownership of 5% to private Namibians and 10% to NAMCO is determined. Now, Honorable Speaker, as we all know, currently we do not have legislation on economic empowerment. And because of our desire to encourage local participation, it has been a practice where foreign licensees are required to allocate at least 5% to local companies and 10% to NAMCO, both free carry. Foreign licensees are at liberty to identify local partners, and the ministry does not play any role in the process. The Honourable Member wanted to know about the measures in place to ensure that ministry officials do not influence the selection of local partners. Honourable Maharupa also suggests that the ministry officials may be owning licenses by proxy. Now, Honourable Speaker, it will be wrong if ministry officials were to be involved in the selection of local partners and in the process ending up owning license by proxy. Not only will it be wrong, it will be illegal because the Petroleum Act prohibits ministry officials to own licenses. And where this is the case, it's indeed contemptible, and therefore I invite members of the public who have knowledge of cases where ministry officials own licenses through proxies to report such cases to my office for investigation or to the ACC. The fifth question is where the honourable member wants a list of local companies with shareholding in petroleum licenses and the natural owners of such local companies. The ministry keeps a register of companies that have been awarded licenses, and the public is allowed to view the register at a fee of $300. And therefore, Honourable Speaker, if you wish to view that license, that register, please do come to the ministry and come with $300. That's by law. The last question is where the honourable member implies that there are licensees that are in default with their financial commitments. And he wants to know if such companies receive a waiver from their commitments. As a regulator, it is the ministry's responsibility to ensure that all license holders comply with the provisions of the Act and the agreements they have entered into. But like in any system, there will be those who, during the currency of their license, may not fully comply with the conditions attached to their license. However, when that is detected, the license holder is provided with an opportunity to comply within a certain time period, failing which the license may be cancelled. With regard to waivers, the Petroleum Act does not make any provision where anyone can give a waiver to a licensee that are in default with the obligations. Honourable Speaker, with those answers, I hope I have answered Honourable Maharupa's question. I see he's saying, no, I haven't, but that's the question, the answers are to give you, Honourable Maharupa. So thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Maharupa, thank you. Good. But you get a copy of... Question number...
Question 4C. That question is as clear as daylight. What measures do you have in place? We know what the law says. But what measures does your ministry have to ensure that this underhand dealings does not proceed, to mitigate? That is one. That question you did not answer. Two, Honourable Minister, I'm very much alive to what the rules say in terms of your answers to Parliament. You may answer a question in any manner you see fit. But when asked for information that is in possession, that your office is in possession of, when your office is ultimately accountable to this Parliament, it does not augur well, it is not proper, and certainly not expected from you, like the individual, to say Parliament must come to my office to get that list. You are accountable to, in this instance, it's Maharupa that asked the question, you are accountable to me. When I ask that list, I want it here, in public, not privately. So that's why I'm saying you've not answered. The rest of the things I'll discuss with you privately.
Can we leave it at that? Question number 172 from the Honorable Dr. Yambo. You put the question. The question is directed to the Minister of Urban and Rural Development. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Yambo, your question is only one question here, and very short. Honorable Yambo, in your introductory remark, I found a question if I can explain why continue to allow so much lowliness to prevail under my watch. That is about Grootfontein employees. I would like to answer as follows, Honorable Yambo. I would like to bring under your attention that as a minister responsible for regional and local governance, I commissioned a special investigation team from my ministry during March 2019. And it's during this investigation that my ministry discovered the issues raised in the question. And it is currently at the Labour Court. That's the key point. The issue is now at the Labour Court. The court hearing was on the 21st October 2021, and the matter is postponed to a date still to be determined by the court. We are therefore waiting for justice to prevail. So that is the answer for your question, Honorable. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll continue. Question number... Yes, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, I'm glad you said you commissioned a team and discovery, and again, the case is sub judice. But it will be good also for you to go deep into the whole analysis and do something about it, because that is not enough. Thank you.
Thank you. I think question number 175. Honorable Member, you put the question. Thank you very much. The question is directed to the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Deputy Minister is in the House. You have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members. Honorable Speaker, this question has been deferred previously, and it was ruled by the Deputy Speaker that looking at the structure of the question and the manner in which it was posed, it's better to be responded by the Minister herself. And I will stand by that to humbly request that the question should be deferred until the Minister comes in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You are making my job easier. We leave it at that. Question number 177. Honorable Murorwa, you put the question. Thank you. And the question is directed to the Minister of Mines and Energy. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I also would like to thank Honorable Murorwa for the questions directed to me. Now, Honorable Murorwa's concern is about the governance around awarding of petroleum exploration licenses. And he is of the view that too much power is vested within individuals who may unduly or unfairly dictate the awarding process. Now, Honorable Speaker, as a principle, I agree that it's not good governance when unfettered power is placed in the hands of one person. You need always to have checks and balances. Now, the Honorable Member's question centered around the workings of the Evaluation Committee and that of the Government Negotiation Team. Now, in terms of the Petroleum Act, it is the Minister of Mines and Energy who makes the decision whether to grant an exploration license or not. To assist the Minister to decide, we have established an internal evaluation committee. The committee consists of not more than 8 most senior members of the Directorate, and it is chaired by the Petroleum Commissioner. In other words, the only criteria to serve on the committee is not any other than being the senior members of the directorate. Members are appointed by the minister for a 2-year period, and the main task of the committee is to evaluate exploration applications as received and make recommendations to the minister whether to award or to reject the application. There are 3 main issues that are evaluated on, namely financial ability, technical ability, and the efficacy of the work program that is submitted together with the application. With regards to a review panel to challenge the minister's decision as recommended by the evaluation committee, what the law provides is that the minister's decisions can be appealed in a court of law. Once the minister has agreed to award a license, the law prescribes that we enter into a petroleum agreement with the applicant. The agreement, amongst others, contained the terms and conditions relating to the basis on which the market value of petroleum will be determined. And to negotiate the agreement on behalf of the government, the minister has appointed a negotiation team. The negotiation team is chaired by the executive director in the Ministry of Mines and Energy, and other members are the Petroleum Commissioner, the Director of the Geological Survey of Namibia, and 1 member each from NAMCO, the Office of the Attorney General, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade and Industrialization, Ministry of Environment, and the Bank of Namibia. The negotiating team is appointed for 3 years, and a simple majority of the members forms a quorum of the meetings. And I'm saying this because one of the questions the Honourable Member wanted to know whether I am aware of some people who may not have attended the meeting. But as long as there was a quorum, the meeting can proceed with the agenda of the meeting. With regards to the indigenization policy, we have developed a local content policy that talks to the need for local participation. That is why, as a practice, all foreign licensees are required to have 10% reserved for NAMCO and 5% for local companies. In this respect, it is important, I believe, that we finalize the National Equitable Economic Empowerment Bill as soon as possible. And with that, Honourable Speaker, I hope I have answered the question to the Honourable Members.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honourable Morowa?
Minister, I'm very glad for the answer that you have provided. I do understand on all the questions, I do understand, but the question that you said that is, as long as the quorum that the meeting can continue, that is agreeable. But my question is not based on the quorum, it is based on the omission of members that were previously there. They were not invited. That is the basis of the question. Not that the meeting didn't have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Member. As I've said, the committee is appointed for a 2-year period, and every time members do change, but as I say, the only criteria for who serves on that committee is the seniority. And you do not want to have a large committee. That's why we only limited actually the amount of the committee to 8 people. Otherwise, you're going to have a large committee, and you cannot really have a committee of so many people to actually have an informed decision of what must happen. So those people who might not be on the committee, certainly they were on there, but therefore there are other people also who actually qualify to be on that committee. And that's why they may not be on that committee. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Well, at this point, we go for a health break. Welcome back. Honorable members, we did quite well. If you want to know how many questions are left, there are only 5 left. And now we are turning to the next part of the agenda. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Resumption of debate on second reading, appropriation amendment bill.
When this assembly adjourned on Wednesday, the 17th November 2021, the question before the assembly was a motion by the Honorable Minister of Finance that the bill be read a second time. And we are now at the point where I will ask for any further discussion. Yes, Honorable Dinda.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to give my humble contribution towards our budget for this midterm budget. Honorable Speaker, I will start with the following remark. Our public servants, the government employees, have become salary collectors. 90% of our budget goes towards salaries. We don't have money for maintenance of our buildings. We don't have money for toilet paper like at Parliament. There's no toilet paper in the toilets. There's no money for projects. There's no money for maintenance of buildings. People are going to work being hampered by a lack of funds to do their work, and they are just sitting there in the offices because there's no projects that they can do. Honorable Speaker, with saying this, I want to start my contribution with the defense budget. Honorable Speaker, I saw an increase in the defense budget. Whatever reasons there is, I don't know. During one of our public hearings with the defense people, we have noticed that money which was meant for capital projects was vehement so that they can pay 10 million for studies for soldiers. Honorable Speaker, if you will visit the barracks everywhere in Namibia, it is so dilapidated. There is no maintenance done at any of the offices of the Minister of Defense. So if we are taking the money which is meant for capital projects to pay for the further studies of soldiers, I don't know what is it that we are trying to do. Honorable Speaker, I want to go further. And I saw, Honorable Speaker, an increment in the budget of the Ministry of Gender, Equality, Poverty, Eradication, and Social Welfare. I'm very much happy with this one. But, Honorable Speaker, while I'm happy, I have a concern because there's no increase in the grants for orphans and vulnerable children. Honorable Minister, 250 Namibian dollars for a child is not even enough for maize meal for the month. So we are expecting from our orphans, that orphans, the word is orphans, meaning they don't have parents, 1 or 2 parents they lost. So in the absence of that parent, how will it be possible for them to survive with a 250 Namibian dollars per month? Honorable Speaker, this is a serious job. I think the Honorable Minister of Finance can do better than this. Our children are the future leaders of this country. If we continue to give them 250 Namibian dollars per month, we are creating that these kids are becoming street kids. It is not their fault that one or both their parents passed on. So I am humbly asking you, Honorable Minister, to look into this issue. It is not right. It seems as if we are not a caring nation to allow our children to be treated as if they are not Namibian citizens. And I want to go further on this one, Honorable Speaker, to say that so much money are disappearing from our state coffers. And yet, if we could have used this money for our vulnerable children, at least they could have benefited better in our society. And then the other issue under this ministry is the issue of pension. Honorable Minister, I don't know, of finance. When you do your calculations, do you include up till next year the people who will turn 60 years old? I have evidence of people who turn 60 years old because the rule says only after the day that you have turned 60 you are allowed to come and apply for pension, the pension money. And yet when people apply for their pension money, they have to wait 3 or 4 months before they get their first payout. It is so wrong. What will these people eat for that 3 to 4 months? And on top of that, is there not even a back paid to make up for the 3 or 4 months lost in an income for them? So it is not sustainable. Let's look into it and calculate. I think we have the data of Home Affairs, and at least we can have an idea how many people will turn 60 in each and every month, so that we can cater for the people and not let them wait for so long, Honorable Minister. This is a big issue, and I want us to look into the waiting period when we pay out the pension. Now, Honorable Speaker, I came to the budget for the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, this place called Parliament is facing a lot of challenges. Challenges that you as the Speaker knows about. Challenges that we as MPs are expecting on a day-to-day basis. Honorable Speaker, the members of Parliament, the backbenchers, must oversee what the executive are doing. Just last week, the Public Accounts Committees, who was the chairperson of the SATCO PAC, it was cancelled. The Committee on Foreign Affairs trip to the regions to make sure that the oversight function is duly done was cancelled because of a lack of money. So, Honourable Speaker, if we as the members of Parliament cannot fulfill that role of an oversight role, then I don't know what we are doing here. So it means we are coming here, talking, go back, sit, you can't do anything. So, Minister of Finance, I don't know whom did you consult, even if the Speaker told you we need 5 million, and you said, no, you only qualify for 1 million, there's no money. This thing of no money must really stop. I know that the Speaker is not a fighter. You will not fight like me until the end. But he will say, thank you, comrade, thank you. I cannot say thank you, comrade. I'm not happy with the budget of Parliament. Just go up now to the toilet, there's no toilet paper. Just go. Honourable Minister, look at this building there. There's not even money, it seems, for maintenance of this building. When it rains, we must put these buckets all over because we are all under flood in this place. So at least the small things can we do it. Really, at least this is a place of members of Parliament. Look into it. Honourable Speaker, I want to go further. And I want to talk about the issue of education, arts and culture. Honourable Minister, just go now to Havana Secondary School in Katatura. Abraham Iyambo Primary School. The tents are full of water. Education. Honorable Minister, our kids are being taught in tents because there's no money. As I said, 90% of the budget goes towards salaries. So now you are sitting in a classroom full of water. You must run with the kids to another class, disturb another class, because normally in our classrooms there are 45 learners. Now you add another 45 in that class, it's 90 learners. So how can we expect that in education we will have the results that we want to see? There's no way, because this is not enough. I'm a forerunner of free education. I'm a forerunner of it. And the Constitution gives that mandate of free primary education. But you reduce the price of subsidy to our children. When we started, it was like 900 per child. Where are we standing today? So our schools are equally suffering because of this issue of non-availability of funds. No textbooks have become a norm in our country. You will ask your kid, where's your textbook? No, we are for sharing this textbook. And when the textbook is gone or got missing, from the four, who must pay for their textbook? It is another challenge. And I know there will be honorable members who will say, but now IT. I'm staying in Katatura, I'm not staying in academia. I know what my people in Katatura needs. Don't talk your IT stories in Katatura. We don't have those facilities, some of our houses. It's shucks. They don't even know what is Wi-Fi. Now you are telling them we move to ITC. Please, let's look at where people are coming from. Not all people have that right or knows about these things. It is something new. They are struggling to survive. Where will they get airtime even? Or smart cell phones? Only if you can afford Tamagotchis. And then I want to go to NASFAF. Honorable Minister, Honorable Speaker, it is still a mess. NASFAF, we lost a lot of money. They cannot even account for the money which they received in 2011. When they moved from the Ministry of Education to from NASFAF, Honorable Speaker, they cannot account for those files. Now they are threatening the people. We will put your name in the media. We will do what? They will embarrass themselves because their data and their paperwork are not up to standard. So they must first clean their houses. And then, after that, they can threaten students or former students, beneficiary, that we will do ABCD. But for now, we have 3 public hearings with NASFAF. It's a disaster. It's a disaster, and I don't know, Honorable Minister. Come again? So, Honorable Minister, I will ask you, please let NASFAF sort out the problems so that other children can also benefit from these funds. Because of this mess, other kids cannot benefit. My daughter don't have a bursary because there's no money. And she's a Namibian child. There are other people who are domestic workers. The children they qualify, but there's no money. So it doesn't help you to say, we have earmarked so much, but at the end of the day, Honorable Minister, I know what I'm talking about. We have someone here in the President's office, a student. He always complain and say, Honorable, please, when will we get our money? Can you follow it up? This money are not coming. We are suffering under this NASFAF. So please look into the issue of NASFAF. And then I want to go to the Minister of Works. And before I end there, Honorable Minister, with NASFAF, do we still have 2 CEOs on the payroll? The one whom you fired or suspended, who came back through the court and get a salary, and the acting one. So this is where the money of bursaries and loans are going through, because you are paying 2 CEOs. That one also needs to be clear with us. It seems like here in Namibia, when you mess up, you are being promoted. We cannot continue with this attitude of doing things. We are talking about public funds, taxpayers' monies, and we need to be accountable for what we are doing with taxpayers' monies. We cannot have 2 CEOs on the payroll of one institution. Then I want to go to the office of the Minister of Works. Honorable Minister, we must learn, when we make a mistake, we must correct that mistake. It was maybe a good idea to say, no, we will form a ministry for works who will take care of all the maintenance and everything of government buildings. Honorable Nekunja, I don't know how many times did you walk here and see what your ministry is not doing. You are failing us. Go to our schools. The toilets are not even working at our schools. When you ask, they say, protocol, please complete just for a bulb. Look here, these ones are not working. Look, now you have been told, no, go and complete the form. For a bulb, complete the form. And then the toilet is leaking, you must complete the form. This Ministry of Works is failing us. It's not working. We are waiting too long for them to send out somebody, go to Katatura Hospital. It's just mouses running up and down, and there everything is broken. You are failing us, Honorable Nekundi. Please look into whether to give this responsibility back to each and every ministry to make sure that maintenance are done on a daily basis. If you wait for 3 years, that small thing becomes so big and you cannot afford it. Now I want to go to the budget of the Minister of Youth, Sport and National Services. Honorable Speaker, our sport fraternities are suffering. They are suffering. The money is not enough in that fraternity. We currently have a protocol under discussion for people living with disability. It is here. I'm the one to take the floor. But I just want to say something which I pick up there. And it is talking about the sport facilities for people living with disabilities, that our government must take care about these facilities. We cannot even take care of the sport facility of the Happy Game Corp Stadium. Just imagine it's the name of our president, and we are embarrassing with that sports facility. So I just want to know from you, Honorable Minister, how will we be able to take care of our sports facilities if we don't give funds to the Ministry of Youth and Sport? If we are always saying there's no money, there's no what, and there's no what. Our athletes with disabilities, when they have to compete in another country, just recently, there were no money to pay for them. Do you want them to become beggars in the street and beg for money to represent this country? It is not right. I know, Honorable Minister, your hands are cut off, there's no money, but we must be honest with each other. It doesn't help you, Honorable Minister, to come here and to say, what is your logo again this time? Let me just look for my paper of your logo. I put it here for me to read for you, but I will find it now. Yeah. Come again? No, I want to remind him. I heard it is boosting resilience and recovery. Boosting, that word. Honorable Minister, don't come here with nice words. If there's no money, just say there's no money. Don't come and talk about boosting. What are you boosting? Poverty. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to continue. I'm still with sports. My dear, I will take my time. There's nobody else who wants to speak. So let me speak on behalf of you who don't want to speak. So, Honorable Speaker, I really want us to look into our artists. Our artists are suffering. This COVID led everybody on his knees. Now, these people cannot even arrange a function just to get some money. This is their income. This is their livelihood. This is how they are supporting their family without begging from money for anybody else. Now, with COVID-19, no performance. Only 10 people, 50 people. Now, at least it's 200, 500 people. But for this time, they have suffered a lot financially. They are on the grounds, they are on their knees. So these are the things that we must look upon and see how can we assist our artists in becoming, for them not to become beggars. And I hope, Honorable Speaker, that we will look into these issues and see whether we can put in more efforts to recover the stolen money of this country, the stolen money, so that we can use the stolen money. It doesn't matter, Swano, PDM, whoever, you know who are the thefts. You know who are the thefts. Now you want me to call the thefts. Yes, we know who stole. He just want me to name to mention the names. He just want me to mention the names. So if we can recover all the stolen money from all the thieves and take that money to use so that we can boost our economy, as you have said. Honorable Minister of Finance, these thieves have assets. Please let them, after the court cases and those ones of GIPF who disappear, which you cannot find, try to find them. The country is on its knees, and we need those money. We need it because we are suffering, and the thieves are living in luxury with their swimming pools and their whatever. So with these few words, Honourable Speaker, I cannot support such a budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wide-ranging, covering a number of areas. Good, good. I think we reach a point where, in the absence of any further contribution, does the Minister wish to reply?
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and let me also thank the honourable members who have contributed to the budget debate. And I should also thank them for the advice they have given us, the areas that we have to look at to improve economic growth, to deal with poverty, and to create employment for our people. So I believe we are all on the same page on those challenges that are facing us. I believe we also know that this is I can say it without fear of contradiction, that this is the most severe economic problem that we have faced since our independence. Because of the pandemic. I can also say it without fear of contradiction that this is the most severe economic problem that the world has faced since the Second World War. So when we are presenting this budget, we must look at it from that context, that we are in a difficult economic situation. When we call on all of you to tighten your belts, is because we all have to deal with this problem so that we can survive the situation and start to grow again as a country and start to make more resources available for our priorities. There were many comments, and I will not be able to address all the comments individually, but I will want to just make some remarks on a number of them. I think one of the concerns raised was how to grow the economy. There were good suggestions here from a number of members, from Honorable Venani, Honorable Swartboy, and of course, recently from a few minutes ago from Honorable Dienda. But when I was presenting the budget, or in my budget statement, I said, yes, we have an economic challenge. But I also said that I believe we have a plan that is going to help us to come out of this economic challenge. I talked about the diversification strategy that is part of the HPP2, Pillar 2, economic progression. This diversification strategy has made us to go deeper to try and understand how do we transform the structure of this economy. Because we may offer solutions, but solutions have to be based on a proper analysis of understanding how economies that have successfully diversified have managed to do that. And we have looked at 50 years of evidence in many, many countries. And the 50 years of evidence point to a number of things. As I said before, countries that have successfully diversified, first of all, produce diverse products, not one, and produce complex products that fetch a higher price. I have heard people talking about toothpicks here. I don't think that's a solution for Namibia, because we need to understand, and toilet papers, we need to understand that a toilet paper is what is called in business a commodity. Yeah, margins very very small. You need to produce many of them to make money. So you need a big population. This Honorable Muharukwa? Yes. So you don't want to produce commodities. You want to produce things that are going to give you value so that you can actually increase the income of your people. So generally, small countries with small population don't produce commodities. They produce things that fetch a higher price. So we must not go in that area or in that direction. We must look at products that are going to give us more value, employ our people, pay good salaries, and when they get good salaries, you uplift their income levels. And therefore, you are able to deal with the twin challenge the twin challenges of unemployment, maybe it's a triple challenge, in fact, unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Because if you are not able to pay good salaries, and that's a problem we have in the country at the moment. The reason why our inequality is so high, we have a highly productive sector, which is mainly mining and financial sector, which pays very good salaries, which employs a very small number of people, versus an informal economy and a retail economy and to some extent subsistence agriculture, where income is very, very low. So you have people who are earning very good money and a significant proportion of the population which earns something but very small. So that way you are not able to address the gap between the two segments of the population. So again, the point I'm trying to make is that when we are talking about diversification, we need to look at how we are going to diversify, not just everything, not just producing everything, because that will not make you a successful country in terms of increasing your income levels. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. There was also a question of whether our projections when it comes to revenue is too optimistic. Honorable Smith is not here. Yes, when you are estimating revenue, revenue is always an estimate, because income is based on what you think the economy is going to generate in the future. So it's always an estimate. Of course, it's an informed estimate because it's based on some tested assumptions, but it doesn't guarantee you that you are going to get that revenue. But I also want to add, the increase in revenue that we have here, part of it is actually already banked. It's already in the bank account. It's not an estimate. If you look at the budget statement and the budget documents, the 400 million is a dividend that is already declared by MPTH. So it's not an estimate. It's money that is already in the bank. The 400 million from the fish auction is money that is already banked. It's not an estimate. It's not revenue that is projected to come in the future. So there is a significant part of additional revenue that we have included in the budget statement, which is already money in the bank. It's not an estimate. Yes, the other component, yes, is based on the performance of the revenue administration number so far, as Honorable Smith was saying. Will that trend continue? We believe some of that trend will continue. Will it give us the projection that we have put in there? We believe so, but it's not a guarantee. But the point I'm trying to emphasize is that a significant part of the revenue is already money in the bank. Then there was a question on okay, I think I have answered that part already. Honorable Venani gave us advice on creating incentives. I agree with you. So in fact, in the budget statement, we have given you some information on the progress that we are making with regard to revising our incentive schemes. The Special Economic Zone framework is in a draft form. It's now under consultation, so different stakeholders are being consulted. And any of you who have got interest in that subject, please talk to me. I can have a cup of coffee with you, share with you what is in that framework, because we want as much input as possible from different stakeholders, so that when we come up with a final product, it's a product that is well informed by views and perspectives from different angles. So you are all welcome to consult with us, and the Minister of Trade is here.
On the point of order?
It's point of information, Honorable Speaker, that
I was actually taken back. It's such a vital piece of information because the minister is actually replying.
yes, but I'm assisting him just on what he was talking about to say that there is a public consultation tomorrow. It's just to share information that there is a
Let me hear.
The consultation that he is referring to, there is an event taking place tomorrow at Nampower. And those of you that have interest in that consultation, please do attend.
Okay, thank
That's
you
all
very
I
much.
wanted to say.
Good information.
Thank you very much. Minister, please go and continue.
Very good. So, Honorable Maharuba, I have not said anything yet.
Is that a point of order?
No, it's not allowed.
It's not allowed. He must sit down.
Yes.
Hama.
Yes, please.
The point of order is this.
Yes.
See, doing one thing wrong creates a domino effect. Now you have to allow me because you are allowed.
No.
Let's stick to the rules.
No, that was not a point of order other than supplementing. So it is not, let's end it there. Minister, please continue. Please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. That's very good information. Those who want to participate in that process, please attend those consultation workshops. We will greatly appreciate your input. There was also a lamentation of the fact that local authorities owe Nampower and Namota a lot of money. I fully share the concerns with regard to the ability of our local authorities. I think that's something that all of us cannot debate. We all need to work together to strengthen our local authorities, because these are the institutions that are close to the people, and service delivery is through these institutions, the local authorities. So we have to find ways of strengthening them so that service delivery can be improved. As a matter of fact, Cabinet has directed us as the two joint committees of Cabinet, the Committee on Treasury and the Committee on Trade and Development, to have a discussion with the Lion Minister to look at different ways of strengthening our local authorities. Specifically, how do we ensure that going forward, the debt that is owed to NamWater and the debt that is owed to NamPower is not going to escalate. But that comes with the strengthening of the local authorities. So that is a subject that is under discussion. It's a subject that is receiving attention. But of course, we will welcome any additional ideas and information as to how we can achieve that goal, because we need to find ways as Namibians how to strengthen our local authorities. There was also a question, I think that, or a suggestion, that we need to look at how do we deal with hunger, how do we deal with poverty. Honorable Dienda also talked about it. I don't believe that we are going to quarrel on that issue. We are on the same page there. As a matter of fact, the Ministry of Gender last year presented a revised social protection policy to Cabinet. So that policy is now approved. We are now in the implementation phase, and it has got additional measures that is going to help us, or that are going to help us to deal with hunger and poverty in general. So I believe we all have to work in unison to implement this new policy effectively. However, Honorable Swalbo is not here today, but he made a very disturbing remark yesterday. And I think this remark cannot be left without challenging it, because it is creating a wrong perception out there that money is only going to specific towns. There was a 50 million that was given to Oshakati. My consultation with the relevant ministry suggests that this matter is, or this remark is not factual. There is no recollection, there is no record of money that went to Oshakati. When government is allocating money, it allocates money to all the places in the country. In 2011, I believe, there was an amount of about 80 million that was given to Oshakati to prepare for the floods, because you may recall that time that whole region was, or that whole area was affected by floods on a frequent basis. So a master plan was developed how to mitigate the impact of flooding. So a certain amount was given in 2011 for that purpose. So that's the only amount that is in the records. The 50 million that he talked about yesterday that was given to Oshakati is not something that we could find anywhere in the records of the ministry responsible for local government and towns. So I believe it's important to put the record straight on this issue, because it's very misleading. It's promoting regionalism, which we as Namibians should resist by all means, because it's going to destroy us. Now, coming to my auntie here, Honorable Dienda. Yes, Honorable Dienda, money is never enough, and more so in 2021, 2022, 2020, because we are dealing with the pandemic. The situation has become severe. You may recall when I was presenting the budget, I mentioned that our revenue has fallen by about 7.5 billion. simply because the revenue of the customs union, which accounts for about 30% of our income, has fallen significantly by the same amount. Now, the customs union consists of 5 countries. Yeah? And why this decline? Because of the pandemic, much of the money comes from excise. Excise, things like, when we buy alcohol, wine, spirits, cigarettes, whatever is called economic sins. Some of the money goes into that pool. Now, you may recall that over the last few months and even last year, because of the lockdowns, there were periods where even alcohol was prohibited. So there was no money flowing into that pool. That's one. Part of the money also comes from imports. When you are buying things from outside the customs union, the tax that you pay goes into that account. Because people lost their jobs, and those of us who still have got jobs need to realize that and be thankful to the fact that we still have jobs. There are those who have actually, fellow Namibians and people in the customs union that have lost their jobs. So the amount of imports that we bring in from outside the customs union fell significantly. So there was not much revenue flowing into the customs union. So that's why revenue has fallen dramatically. So that situation presents a serious challenge to all of us to manage the resources that we have sparingly so that we can maintain the basic functions of the state, including allowing the Speaker to buy the necessities that he should buy. I'm sure the Speaker can still afford the toilet paper. So if there is no toilet paper, it's probably because of something else.
Because of Swan.
But I want to agree with you. I want to agree with you that we need to look after our children. I'm equally disturbed by the fact that we have not increased the child grant for a considerable period of time. And when we are implementing the revised social protection policy, that's something that we need to pay attention to. And we will have to pay attention to that fact. In fact, in 2 weeks' time, we have invited, again, the Joint Committee has invited the Minister responsible for gender to our committee to come and discuss that very same issue. So it's something that is receiving attention.
We are carrying.
So hopefully we'll come up with some solutions, because we have to reallocate money from somewhere. Yeah, I don't know from where, but we have to find some money from somewhere so that we can at least, and maybe from the pension of our Honorable Maharuka. So that at least we can find some savings that we can reallocate to the child grant. So I fully agree with you. I'm on the same page with you. So that's something that will carry our support, and as I said, it's already receiving attention. Now, yes, you have lamented the fact that money in education, a significant part of the money that we put into education goes for salaries. That's a fact. I don't think anybody can dispute that. It's also a fact that Namibia is one of the countries in the world that spends a significant part of its budget on education. If you compare us to all our peers, upper middle income countries, the amount of money that we spend as a percentage of our income, it's way above most of the countries. So, but why are we still complaining about the fact that there is no money? It's because we have to find those inefficiencies in the system. So it's no longer a question of putting more money in education. It's a question of how do we find the efficiencies in the system so that we can allocate some money, additional money, to textbooks, and I agree with you, to textbooks, and to other important necessities. We need to look at our teachers' provisioning rules. And I believe that's an issue that is receiving some attention from the Minister of Education. We need to make sure that we cluster our schools in such a way that we don't have just a school that has got 15 kids. So we need to look at all these things. It's no longer a question of putting more money in education. It's a question of how do we find the efficiency. Yeah, so that the money that we are putting in is yielding results, better results that we are currently getting. Because we put in more money in education, but the results are not comparable to the money that we are putting in education. So I believe the Minister of Education is looking at that issue to address the problem. The ministry has done very well, Honorable Maharuka. Now, please listen.
It's unparliamentary. Sit down.
The last one is on NASFAF. You know, it looks, I see some people are getting excited now. NASFAF, including Honorable Maharuka.
Must pay back. Maharuka must pay back.
Yes, on NASFAF. So, NASFAF has spent a great deal of time cleaning up their records. I think over the last 2 years or so, they really worked very hard to clean up their records. So when you hear them now say, please come and register yourself, make arrangements with us, it's because they have records. So I'm not saying that there is no need for doing additional work to improve their records, but I think we need to commend them for the work they have done so far. So Cabinet also, in December last year, also approved a new policy. Cabinet approved a new policy on awarding loans. Yeah, as we have seen that there's a limit as to how much, how much you should earn for your child to get education. I mean, sorry, not education, but a loan. But it has also approved a debt collection policy for NASFAF. So that's why NASFAF is now empowered to collect more money. If they can collect more money, it means they will be in a position to provide financial assistance to our children. So I think all of us here, we need to help NASFAF. We need to help NASFAF to tell those who benefited from NASFAF loans that it's their moral responsibility to make arrangements with NASFAF to pay back the money, because a good number of them, including Honorable Maharuka, have the ability to pay back. They have the ability to pay back. And we should not support them. We should not support those who are saying, no, we can't pay back.
Okay.
Those who are able to pay back, and the majority of the people are able to pay back. Let them come, Honorable Speaker, let them come clean. Let them come to NASFAF and open their books and say, I'm not employed, or if I'm employed, my income is this, I'm not able to pay back. But the majority of them are able to pay back. So it's morally wrong to encourage them not to pay back. So let's not stand with them. Yes.
Okay.
Let's expose those who are stealing the future of our children. Let me stop the Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member, I put the question that the bill be read a second time. Any objection? Then it's agreed to. The Secretary will read the bill second time.
Appropriation Amendment Bill.
Thank you very much. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Resumption of debate on the draft joint declaration between the Republic of Namibia and the Federal Republic of Germany.
When this assembly adjourned on Wednesday, the 17th November 2021, the question before the assembly was a motion by the Honorable Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs that the motion be discussed. Any further discussion? Honorable Maharukwa.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if there's no one that is willing to take the floor now, may I postpone the debate to Tuesday?
Tuesday?
Yes.
I don't see anyone wanting to take the floor, so we take up the discussion next week, Tuesday. Thank you very much. We move on to the Secretary will read the third order of the day.
Resumption of debate on the transfer or sentence offenders or persons deprived of liberty between the Republic of Namibia and the Republic of Angola.
When the Assembly adjourned on Wednesday, the 3rd November 2021, the question before the Assembly was a motion by the Minister of Home Affairs, Immigration and Safety and Security that the agreement be approved. The Honorable Shumbu adjourned the debate and don't see the member in the House. Anyone else who would like to contribute? Yes, please.
Again, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member is on official duty. Should there be no one else to contribute, may we postpone the debate to Tuesday?
Tuesday.
In his name.
In the absence of anyone wanting to take the floor, we will do precisely that. Let's move on. The Secretary will read the fourth order of the day.
Committee State Finance Amendment Bill.
Does the Minister of Finance move that the Assembly now goes into committee?
I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. It is moved that I leave the chair. Any objection?
No.
No, they are around. I think
you can become one.
Who seconds?
It becomes if it becomes.
Who seconds? Thank you. Agree to. I now call on the chairperson of the whole House Committee to take the chair. I'm really counting on the whole House Committee to be out there. No, we have 3 people who support her assistance. Honorable, you are joking. Huh? No, the chief whip was here a minute ago. Could you check also? Yes. No, let's check. This never happened before. I'm not going to waste time. I'll go to the next item. Are they coming? You gotta take their gown there. But is he not in the restaurant? Have you got the phone? I think he's in. Is he not there? Oh.
Just the jacket that is hanging there on the chair.
Is he not in the office?
Only the jacket.
But then we can can go to another item. Yeah. No, we are not going to waste time. The Secretary will read the fifth order of the day.
The whole House Committee is called to order.
No, we will not pass it.
Yes.
But we will not pass it. We will not give a question to pass it.
First determine the quorum.
Yes, I'm advised that we have a working quorum. We are not going to pass it. We are just discussing it. Then we are not going to pass it. We have a working quorum. Can you rise up? Then you ask. You are talking to me while you are seated. The whole House Committee has to consider the State Finance Amendment Bill. I put clause 1. Any discussion? Any objection? Agreed to? Are we sure that we don't have members there? How many members do we have? Wait. They're counting. No, wait, they are counting. Wait.
25.
25.
Yeah, there's 25. So just report progress and ask you to sit again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah, when I do my report progress and ask you to sit again.
Honorable members, I'll report progress and ask a leave for us to sit again. We are far. Very far. Honorable Speaker, I report progress and ask a leave to sit again.
Thank you. Does the Honorable Minister of Finance move that the bill be? Oh, okay. Good. I thought it was very short. The Secretary will read the fifth order of the day.
Resumption of debate on human and people's rights, on the rights of persons with disabilities in Africa.
When the Assembly adjourned on Wednesday, the 3rd November 2021, the question before the Assembly was a motion by the Deputy Minister of Disability Affairs that the protocol be approved. The Honorable Dinda adjourned the debate, and now I have the pleasure to give you the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I will go straight to the protocol. On page 8 of the protocol, it reads as follows, number 8, persons with disabilities have equal rights to control their own financial affairs and to have equal access to bank loans, mortgages, and other forms of financial credit. Honorable Speaker, I have to acknowledge that this protocol is seeking for equal treatment of people living with disabilities. This is what they are asking for. Now, Honorable Speaker, my concern is if you are talking about bank loans and you are looking at our people living with disabilities, most of them are either unemployed or they are entrepreneurs. A few of them are taken up in the private sector or in government. So if we are saying they must have equal access to bank loans, then my question is, do we have any agreement with our banks here in Namibia? If we sign this protocol, it means that we must take care and make sure that these facilities, these things that we promise here, that we ratify, will be made possible for these people to have access to it. So did we, the Minister, discuss it, or will there be arrangements with the banks to equally look at the plight of these people? You cannot say that somebody who is an entrepreneur and who is disabled with no guarantees, no bank will give them anything. So the Minister must tell us how will they address this issue. And on the same page, on Article 8, that persons with disability have access to service, facility, and devices to enable them to live with dignity and to realize further their right to life. Honorable Speaker, when I was busy with my research asking the people living with disability about this issue, they said they have a challenge when it comes to health matters. Because if you are a person living with disabilities and you are on the medical aid scheme of one of your parents, that medical scheme need to, every year they have to come and register you so that you can remain on the medical aid. Honorable Speaker, if you are disabled in such a way that you cannot be employed or cannot take care of yourself, you are permanently disabled, it means you will be disabled until you die. So why must people go to that extreme? Every year you are disabled, you have been classified by the doctor as disabled, to come and register this person every year as a disabled person while you are sitting with the record. One lady told me that she was not informed. Nekundi, you like to moisten my mond. So, Honorable Speaker, she told me that she was not informed that she has to register her 25-year-old child every time. And she didn't do it. And when the child died, this is when she found out that the child is not on the medical aid anymore. So there was nothing that they could do. So if we can look into this thing, it doesn't help us to sign on promises, to ratify it, but we cannot adhere to these promises. Believe me, I will make sure that everybody in my church will know this protocol so that they can ask where, when, and how. And then on page 10, Honorable Speaker, Article 14, persons with disabilities who require intensive support and their families have adequate and appropriate facilities and services, including caregivers services. Honorable Speaker, I want to take your attention to the word caregivers. If you are a caregiver and you take care of somebody living with disabilities, this is a huge responsibility. So if we don't give, Honorable Minister of Finance, an incentive to caregivers, that caregiver will go and look for a formal job. So nobody will become a caregiver to take care of somebody with disability if there's no incentives for that person to take care of it, because it is a responsibility. The parent of that person living with disability also know that they have to go and look for a full-time job, because some of them are wearing nappies and all those things, and it is very expensive. So, Honorable Speaker, I want the Minister of Finance, when you read this protocol, there is a lot of financial implications in this protocol. We cannot ratify something which you don't have the ability to fulfill. And this caregivers is one of the things that we have to look into. Honorable, come again.
On a point of order?
What does you know about?
Thank you.
What do you know?
Como Speaker, I just want to get an understanding whether what we are discussing is in conformity with the rules of Parliament. I just want to check, because the rule, according to the rules, it provided a protocol. Once it is tabled by the relevant minister, the Speaker must take it, refer to the committee, and it's only after that we discuss it here. I'm not sure whether we are, and if it's approved, discussed in this fashion, whether it is really be in conformity with the, there's no discretion. There's no discretion if you look at the rule. I just want to check, because everything will need to be done according to the rules. I just want to get that correctness. If we are in line, if we do it outside the scope of the rules, what would be the implication? I just want to get that.
I can assure the honourable member, we are absolutely within the
right.
rule. Yes. There is no question about it, I can assure you. Honourable member, please continue. Oh? Yes?
Half right, but somehow actually correct. Because the rule actually says it should automatically go unless the Speaker deems it not to be of such intricate nature. But the practice is that everything actually just comes here. We do it the other way around.
Absolutely.
So he's not completely right, but he's also saying something that is quite important. But we are doing wrongly.
Absolutely. But we have continued. We have commenced the discussion. So we cannot, in the mid-air, change. Yeah. Honourable Dunda, please continue.
Yes. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I want to continue. On page 10, Article 14, C, 2C. Persons with disabilities have access to a range of in-home, residential, and other community support services necessary to support living and inclusion in the community. Honourable Speaker, I look at in my area in Vanaheda, in the community, we have sport facilities there where people can go and practice. And I look at how, is it the word that I must use, disabled-friendly these activities, these sports grounds are. It is not. So here in this protocol, it speaks about it. So in the community, the services that are there must be in such a stage that the people living with disability can have access to it and can enjoy it like all other residents. Equal treatment, this is what they were asking for. And then, Honourable Speaker, on page 12 of the protocol, Article 16, number 3E, ensuring appropriate schooling choices are available to persons with disabilities who may prefer to learn in a particular environment. Honourable Speaker, not all teachers are trained to teach people with disabilities. So here the protocol says, who prefer, it's about you. You prefer to be taught in that school, to be teach in that school. So now, if that school doesn't have the necessary requirements or ability to take you in, what will happen to that learner? Because the learner prefer, number one, the school is closer to home, And then you came and you discovered that this school does not even have a lift for a disabled person with crutches. What are you going to do? And then secondly, still on page 12, ensuring educational institutions are equipped with teaching aids, materials and equipment to support the education of students with disabilities and their specific needs. Honorable Speaker, there was a school in Walvis Bay specifically catering for people, our kids with disabilities. This school was closed by the Minister of Education because the school has followed the curriculum of South Africa. So we are taking an opportunity from a child just because of our protocols. For me, it was the fact that these learners are receiving a grade 10 certificate, grade 12 certificate, just like any other Namibian child. But the curriculum was coming from South Africa. That was the problem. So are we not taking that right of those learners to be in an environment which they prefer to be in? Because the parents prefer that school which addresses the needs of their children. But yet, the Minister of Education feels that the school doesn't follow the curriculum of Namibia. So again, please, if we have this, rectify these protocols, let's look into our own institutions to strengthen it, to address the needs. And I want to continue on page 12, okay, I talk about teaching aids, page 13. Sorry. Providing those health services needed by persons with disability, specifically because of the disabilities of health services. Honorable Speaker, even at our hospitals and at our clinics, there's no provision even made for people with disabilities. I will not use the word for them to be taken care of before other people's, what is the word? Priority. We don't have it. You don't have it. Honorable Speaker, if a person comes in a wheelchair, you are disabled. So of course you have to take care of the health service of that person, because anything can happen with this person in a specific short time. So the health issue of them needs to be addressed. I know we just pay a small amount of funds here for clinic service and so on. But even that amount, some people cannot afford that amount. They cannot. So now you got the stamp, and then you have been told, no, you didn't pay, so you will not get the medication. And this person is coming because the person is on medication. And the person needs it, but the person doesn't have money to pay for it. So these things we have to look into, Honorable Speaker. And then on page 15, Honorable Speaker, I'm mentioning these things because I will follow up on this protocol to hear whether the situation has changed on the ground. To hear that, to make sure that we don't ratify, don't sign things if we don't mean what we are speaking. Actions speak louder than words. So we cannot make promises on paper and then we don't do it. On page 16, Article 20, number 2B, it is talking about access by persons with disabilities to social protection programs. Social protection programs. We have the Harambee project here. Honorable Speaker, if you are receiving a social grant and you are disabled, you don't qualify for that food. But I don't know where will they get the extra to make up. So we have to make sure that our people living with disability are equally treated. If you are talking about Harambee food, you cannot look at, no, you are disabled, you don't qualify, equal treatment. Let everybody, if everybody gets Harambee food, let everybody get it. Whether you are disabled or not, let all us afford it. And then on page 17, sports facilities. Oh my goodness. As I said during my budget contribution, Honorable Speaker, Is there really specific sports facilities in Namibia who cater for our people living with disabilities? No. So yet, we are signing we ratify a protocol which is very clear that right to participate in sports creation and culture, and it says ensuring that persons with disabilities have access to sports, recreation and cultural service and facilities. It is very clear. So, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Minister of Finance, I have to say these things because I want you to know that there's a lot of things that needs our attention. And then on page 19, Article 27H, women with disabilities have access to income-generating opportunities and credit facilities. Honourable Speaker, if you talk about income-generating opportunities and credit facilities, now I'm a disabled woman and I'm selling bananas and those things, and I want to go bigger. I don't want to stop here with just selling in the streets. I want to start with a stall or a shop and so on. Is there any measures that will be put in place to make sure that credit facilities will be available to these women? Or is it just, again, lip service? And my last one is on page 21, my last contribution. Ensuring access to credit facilities for youth with disabilities. Now, if a woman doesn't qualify, how will a youth who just maybe came from school, how will they make sure that these youth will have access to credit facilities in our country? Which provision is there made for our disabled youth? Is there any provision made for them? And how, when? Please, these things need to be clear out. I support it to be ratified because it is a very beautiful document, but I know I will take the Minister of Gender accountable for this thing. When it is signed, I will follow up with her to say and to look how far did she go to make sure that this will be implemented. I thank you and I support the protocol.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like a long-standing senior member of the House, you are really persistent and consistent in following up for the good of the very document that is before the House. I think we can only take it as far as that. Where are we? Where are we? No, I better not even go anywhere. Any further discussion? I think we're up against time. And we will continue next week. But for now, I made a very serious omission yesterday. I failed to acknowledge someone's birthday yesterday. And let's do it at the last minute as we adjourn. We extend our best wishes to the Honorable Calais on your big day, to wish you happy birthday, wish you good health, and continue to enjoy everything you dare for yourself. Happy birthday. That said and done, we are now concluding. The House stands adjourned until Tuesday next week.